Shalom folks, I'm Yotam. I'm an intern clinician at Jewish Family Service Utah, and I wanted to reach out to you today with the first of a series of videos that I'm going to be releasing about raising emotionally intelligent children, even in this era of the chaos that the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked on our habits, our day-to-day routines, and the rest of our lives. But before we get too much into parenting, I think it's appropriate to take a moment for ourselves. Sometimes feeling the responsibility of making sure that everybody else is okay can make it feel like there's just no room for our own experiences and our bodies and our emotions to exist in the world around us. So maybe we can just take a moment right now and just take a few deep breaths and realize that we're also experiencing this along with everybody else, and that that's okay. Well, thank you for taking a moment out with me to do that. Let's start with problem solving. Problem solving is an amazing tool. It's an ability our brain has that allows us to see the future and connect it with our past. It allows us to navigate the world in a way where we don't have to end up with the outcomes that we think we might end up with. It's what gives us the ability to do what we do every single day. Think of something that you had to do at work recently, a problem that showed up. Or maybe you were trying to cook and a recipe called for an ingredient you didn't have and you had to come up with an alternative. Or maybe a faucet in your house broke and you needed to come up with a way to get it to work. Problem solving helped you with all of these problems, and it's what allows us to continue to do what we do every day. Problem solving is such a powerful tool that it's no surprise that it can become our go-to, the one we use to approach every problem without thinking about alternatives. But just like every other tool out there, there are certain problems where it's just not the ideal one. Think of a time where your kid came to you with some sort of struggle they were having. Maybe it had to do with homework or a friend at school or some other situation that they were trying to navigate and felt really stuck with. Using problem solving, it was probably pretty easy to jump to a place of offering a suggestion. It could have sounded something like, well, why don't you just try so-and-so? Or, when I was in your place, what I did was, it could even have just been as simple as, why don't you just blank? Did it work? I mean, maybe it did, but maybe sometimes it didn't. And I know that can be frustrating. You came with a problem and I had a solution. Why are you upset? But maybe that brings us to the next point. Let's talk about opportunities to connect. Opportunities to connect as a way to approach problems is very different from problem solving. When you approach a problem as an opportunity to connect, you realize that the problem at hand isn't something negative that needs to be overcome, and that we're always going to have problems. And the sharing of them is really that, an opportunity to share in the difficulty of it, in the unknown, and in the humanity of feeling stuck. It might feel counterintuitive, but when we use problems as an opportunity to connect, we don't necessarily have to find solutions, so much as we end up walking away feeling more interconnected and more together. I realize this all sounds well and good, but the reality is, how exactly do we do this? How do we find opportunities to connect instead of looking for solutions? Well, let's go through the process of each of them. We'll start with problem solving, then we'll go to opportunities, and we'll see how they're similar and different. There are really 4 steps to each. In problem solving, we start by listening to the problem being shared. Then, we compare the problem to ones we've already solved in the past. Third, we come up with possible solutions to the problem. And fourth, we share our solutions with others. In contrast, when we're looking for opportunities to connect, we, 1, listen for the emotions being shared. Then we empathize with their experience. We validate the difficulty of the problem, and then we connect and offer support. Now, I'm not saying problem solving doesn't have its place. Of course it does. It's not your go-to for no good reason. But what I'm offering is another tool. A tool, a way to approach problems that allows us to connect with our kids. It tells them that their experience, their difficulty, their emotions are valuable and meaningful to us, and that it makes sense to hold some space for them. So why don't you give it a try? Find some time this week when your kid brings a problem to you, and resist the urge to find a solution, and instead see it as an opportunity to connect. That's all for today. I'll catch you next week. Meanwhile,